Hi, I'm Dr. Brandy E. Wade, aka the Queer Mathematics Teacher. I'm inviting you to join me for a 6-part professional development series entitled Visions of a Rehumanized Mathematics for LGBTQ plus students. The professional development series is designed for teachers of mathematics in grades 6 through 12, or for teacher educators or coaches that work with teachers in those grade ranges. The series will provide teachers with an opportunity to explore ideas related to LGBTQ plus identity, heteronormativity in K-12 schools, queer theory, queer pedagogy, and just centering queer experiences and joy in mathematics instruction.
Okay, queer theory is the lens used to explore and challenge how scholars, activists, artistic texts, and the media perpetrate gender and sex-based binaries, and its goal is to undo hierarchies and fight against social inequalities. Queer pedagogy involves exploring the noun form or being queer and how queer identities intersect and impact educational spaces. The word queer can also become an adjective that describes moments when heteronormative perceptions become blurred by the presence of these queer identities. I just gave you two of the definitions that woman listed off, and my question to her and anyone who supports this is, what does this have to do with math? This has zero to do with math, and it's all about identity. If you're going to tell me, if you're going to try to convince me that somehow, some way in grades 6 through 12, there's seemingly somebody out there who's not including a queer person in math class, then we have to deal with that person. You can't tell me that math is not inclusive to queer people. It's not discriminatory towards queer people. It's only discriminatory towards people like me, people who don't know math, people who hate fractions, people who can barely divide. None of the symbols you see on the screen actually hate queer people. This is making such a mountain out of a molehill that doesn't even exist. This is what happens when you don't look people dead in the eye and say, hey, you know, your idea, the one that you're talking about right now, you do realize that's complete horseshit, right? You do know what you're talking about really has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, right? You do know that 2 plus 2 has nothing to do with your sexual identity, right? When are we going to actually start having this conversation? I keep talking about it, but I want people to start understanding and listening to it and actually going out and applying it to the conversations being had by these people who think everything is against them. This is stupid. No matter how you want to slice it, no matter if you're interested in paying whatever money is the price for this and thinking that, golly, me as an educator, I want to be more inclusive to my class because one of them could be gay, one of them could be a transgender, one of them could be queer, and I just want to make sure when I'm teaching them how to divide the square root of pi by my testicles, I want to make sure they're included in the class. You could just teach the entire class, give them worksheets, give them pop quizzes, fail them when they don't do the homework. That's being inclusive. That's being a regular teacher. None of this, we have to understand their identities. Take that and use that in classes that would actually fit there. You talk about adjectives, that sounds like an English class or a reading class or a basic writing class. I don't think that has anything to do with math. And so when you sit there and you try to convince people like me that this is necessary, I have to ask the simple question, why and where? Because why is it necessary that I have to, as an educator, identify everybody and include them while also trying to teach them math? It's just math. Numbers are discriminatory. They're not gonna sit there and look at you and say, oh my God, look at you, you gay. You disgust me. They're just numbers on paper. I'm sure it may be still, there's going to be those questions on the quiz that are like, oh, Jimmy, who has she, her pronouns, is getting 6 apples, and he gives 4 of them to Timmy, who identifies as they, them. How many apples does Jimmy have? And I guess that could be your explanation, but still, it makes no sense. This is not needed. No one asked for this, and this is not going to be the thing that brings everybody together. It's gonna make people look at you, doctor, professor, teacher, whatever you are, and think, why are you trying to use this for math class? Even for the people who will agree, maybe you'll sit there and say, why for mathematics? This has nothing to do with mathematics. This is something more of identity based. This is something a counselor could see and actually work with, not really for mathematics. So for this person and their entire class and their experience in trying to get people included in math class, I'm just gonna say you're a bad instructor. I'm gonna say you have no engaging ways to get the class involved, and they're all sitting there with their hands in their face, bored, wishing they were in another class that's fun. You are a bad educator. You're just a bad teacher. It's not you personally. I don't know what your sexuality is, and I don't care, because that's not the point here. The point is, you might be a bad teacher because you're not teaching your kids math. Instead, you're focusing on making sure they're included in math that you're not really engaging in teaching them in. So my question for anybody who's going to say, I'm against queers and I'm against being gay and I'm against being lesbian and trans, when are you going to acknowledge that some people in your section, in your group, in your circle make no sense? It's not hard to just admit, hey, what you're saying really don't make any sense. Hey, what you're saying really isn't that helpful. Hey, what you're saying about math and how queers need to be included, and let's have this course and pay all this money for you so that you can teach people how to include queer students in math. You are a bad teacher. I'm tired of this. I thought this was gonna be like a fun thing that I could just dissect, but my brain hurts. I'm numb. I thought my Christmas clothes would help me, but no. I'm wishing that I could just have food right now, because if I had food, I wouldn't be thinking about this. But I do think about this because I'm wondering how far people go to actually prove how dumb they are. A lot of people have these talking points. A lot of people think, oh, everyone's excluded, no one's being inclusive, and we must have it every single place we go. No, we don't. Some places don't need it. Not because they hate you. It's because it doesn't need inclusion. It has everybody in it. And if the entire class is dumb and they don't know math, then it's up to the teacher to educate them. But if the teacher is a bad educator and not being engaging and not getting the students involved, then that's on the teacher, not on no one being discriminatory. Subscribe to the channel. Don't waste your time trying so hard to sound like a pariah when all you do is sound like a dumbass.